What does it mean to live a life you love waking up to every day? Welcome to Season 2 of the SoundEmbrace podcast. Live a life you love. I'm Dr. Danielle Hall. This season is unlike anything I've created before. It begins with a question and a road trip. On July 9th, I'll begin driving nearly 5,000 miles through 12 cities, exploring what it really means to create a life you love waking up to every day. Along the way, I'll be sharing my own experiences as a sound healing practitioner, entrepreneur, and researcher. You'll hear the honest conversations about rebuilding after a traumatic brain injury, following curiosity instead of certainty, and the lessons that unfold when you're willing to say yes before you know exactly where the road will lead. I'll also be sitting down with people from all walks of life, asking them the very same question. What does it mean to you to live a life that you love waking up to every day? My hope is that somewhere in these conversations, you'll begin asking yourself that question too. Thank you for being here. Let's see where the road takes us. Wow, guys. So here we are. We are at Season 2 of the SoundEmbrace podcast. Welcome. This is, wow, I have so many words. And if you are watching this, if you're watching this versus listening, if you're watching this, you're going to see that I actually look down a little bit for my notes because this one is very different than what I've done in the last season. And for those who are just listening, you are just listening. So I've got my notes. I'm here. I cannot wait to share with you about what I am doing. If you are on my newsletter list and you have been following along in this journey already, thank you. This is the official launch of the podcast version of it. Welcome to Season 2 of the SoundEmbrace podcast. I am Danielle, the founder at SoundEmbrace, and this season is unlike anything that I've done for multiple reasons. For the next 38 days, I will be traveling more than 5,000 miles through 12 cities, hosting sound bath experiences, recording conversations, and asking one question: what does it mean to create a life you love waking up to every day? And this question isn't something that's just been slowly simmering overnight. This question has been at the center of SoundEmbrace since the concept of SoundEmbrace was born. I will link another video that is just about my personal story of how I got into sound healing in the first place, but that will really share with you the why of why SoundEmbrace is what it is. But why now? Why Season 2? Why this road trip? If you've been following my story, you know that the last several years just have not gone to plan. I have felt like I have been thrown into a dryer and just have been like ping-ponging around, hitting my head over and over and over and over and over again. And I know I'm not the only one who has felt this way. You know, over the last 14 years, I've built this business that I love. I love my business. I love what I do. I love this extension of who I am and the creativity I get to pour out and the love I get to pour out and teach. Like, I have built this beautiful, beautiful life, this beautiful business. And with a lot of people, you know, the pandemic happened. It changed a lot of things for a lot of people. After the pandemic, in 2022, I moved back to Alabama. At that time, I was traveling a lot for what I was doing. I was actually being hired a lot by different corporate companies to go out and share nervous system regulation practices to support their teams in going through the uncertainty and going through the tough times of just not knowing. And then in 2022, I decided, okay, well, if I'm going to be traveling to do all of this work, if I'm going to be traveling to support other people in their journeys and support these corporate companies, I'm going to leave Atlanta. I'm going to stop paying this exorbitant amount of rent in Midtown Atlanta with this beautiful view with Piedmont Park. And, I got to check that off my bucket list of living in a high-rise apartment. And I was like, all right, I'm literally just, at this point, it's a very expensive storage unit for my bed. Honestly, like, that's just one of the thoughts that kept coming up into my mind. And I'm like, all right, this is just a very expensive storage unit for my bed. And so in thinking about how much I was traveling, I decided to buy a house. And I knew that if I was going to be traveling as much as I did, that I would have better luck with that travel if I just bought a house in Alabama, and I would have the support from my family to go in and, help me in the times that I was gone, right? And so I bought this house in Alabama, and then the same week that I bought this house, all of that travel work went away. And I was left having to rebuild, pivot. It's not something that is unfamiliar to me as an entrepreneur. And I'm sure a lot of other people who are entrepreneurs know that there are just times where you're just going to have to pick up and pivot, right? And so all of that travel work went away. I am now here in Alabama and have this house. And so I started rebuilding in Atlanta and building here in Alabama. And I knew that, in this kind of building period, it was going to take some time. But then about 2 years in, I got into a pretty bad car accident. And it was almost overnight that this business that I had been building and rebuilding in Atlanta and in Alabama, again, the foundation was kind of ripped out from under me, and it took about a year and a half of healing where I was unable to work. I was unable to network, to get new work. And then it's just been the last 9 months or so that I felt that my body now has the capacity to be out in the world and not be as taken away by anxiety from my environment, or feeling overstimulated, or feeling like I just get so tired so fast. So it's taken about a year and a half to be able to get back in the game of really stepping forward in the way that I usually love to show up in my work. But even now, this is a new rebuilding phase. This is a new rebuilding phase with a body and a brain that is still healing, that has, over the last year and a half, I've had to look at what does life look like for me now moving forward with some of the limitations that I have and the, the car accident debt that I have. And it's not that I can't do sound healing, or I just can't show up in the world in the same way that I used to show up in. And so I'm in this really interesting season of my life, in my 40s, as a single person household. And by the way, I would not be sharing those things so publicly if I didn't think that it would be supportive for someone out there who might be going through something. So please be safe on the internet when you're sharing information. But as a single person household going through that pretty traumatic event, and not being able to work or rely on a partner for financial stability, and relying on my sound healing work as the means to keep things going, and not being able to, and being limited by how much I could work, and now the debt, right? So, and I know that my story is not so different than others. Some of the players might be different, and there might be other variables, but I'm almost overnight, I found myself rebuilding again my business, and now rebuilding myself again. And I think this is going to be something, for everybody, that is this long, something that we will always have to do. But if I know the life that I want, what now is keeping me from fully stepping into it? If I know what I want life to look like and what it is to me to wake up to a life that I love waking up to every day, despite my limitations, I'm looking at the question, what am I doing? What is keeping me from fully stepping into that? So this isn't just a road trip. It's also a personal experiment. Several years ago, I was introduced to something called astrocartography. For those who aren't familiar with it, astrocartography maps different geographic locations in relation to your birth chart. And so some people believe that certain places can amplify different parts of who you are, like your career, your creativity, your relationships, a sense of purpose. And while I don't really have all the answers to this, I've become very curious to kind of test this idea. And the reason this started to come up is because earlier this year, I was looking at what is the life that I want to create for myself now with these limitations, now with this new body, this new brain that is still healing and still, figuring itself out. And why am I having the types of experiences that I'm having here in Alabama? And why is it so different for me here in Alabama than it was in Georgia versus California versus Colorado or New York? And so bringing the astrocartography conversation into this, I learned that I have this Neptune line that comes through Alabama, Neptune descendant. And so again, I'm still learning about what all of this means. I'm even going into this pretty skeptical of, I don't want to say skeptical. I'm coming in with curiosity. I believe that there's, I believe in astrology. I believe in astronomy. I believe in psychology. And I believe in how all of these things are interrelated. So why not astrocartography? And so the Neptune descendant line is really, if I'm looking at just the line, the energy itself is about hermit mode. It's about going inward. It's about looking at my own foundations. It's about self-study. It's about research. So to step back a minute, end of January, beginning of February, this is the time frame. The catalyst moment. I was asking myself, how long do you push something? How long do you, even though you believe in it and you know that that's in my case, sound healing, that I believe in this work so much, but I have been just tossed in the fire, tossed in so many just not great experiences. And so I was just talking to God and saying, if I am meant to be here in Alabama, you, God, directed me here, made it so effortless and so easy, and it made sense to be here. I know I'm supposed to be here. Then what am I supposed to be doing? Why did you really bring me here? Mad. I'm just so angry. And in this prayer and meditation practice that I was doing, I am sharing this anger. And in this conversation with Spirit, with God, I was like, you know what? You are not showing me. You're not making it easy for me to see what your plan is or what the next best step is. And I know very clearly when I ask, you reveal the next step. And you have not revealed the next step. You let me sit here in the mud. And so I quit. In that prayer, in that meditation, I quit sound healing. And I was like, I'm gonna figure this out because I have to figure out how to pay off this debt. And I can't continue to move and to believe so hard and to have this faith. My faith was waning, and I couldn't do it anymore. My body couldn't do it anymore. My emotions couldn't do it anymore. And my faith was definitely being tested. And that week, I've never had to do a resume, guys. I've never had to do a resume. I graduated college. And like never had to do an actual resume. It was always about a portfolio and never a resume. So here I am in this particular week. I'm like, I am going to make a resume and it's going to be amazing and I'm going to get a job and I don't even know what kind of job, but like my skills have to transfer and I'm like figuring all of that out. And I'm like pissed and still praying and I'm still meditating and I'm still working with the energy and in that same week, I connected back with astrocartography and like that whole thing. And I'm like, all right, what's up with this Neptune line? All right. And in that week, I was like, let me lean into this a little bit. Let me just lean into the energy that is here for me here in Alabama. And when I did, I kid you not, a week, I'm sure God, spirit, higher mind is just like sitting there laughing at me the whole time. Like, finally, you're getting it, because then I got the Emory University study. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'm not quitting sound healing. And so then I go on this journey and doing, this research study in collaboration with the behavioral science department on doing this quantitative study on one of my protocols that I actually teach my students in the sound healing certification program. And then I'm like, okay, if there's got to be something to this, because now it's kind of rippling effect in another way to do another longitudinal study with a new partner in research. And so it had me thinking, like, if this is so easy, because I don't know what it's like for you, but I know for me, like it's not about not working hard. It's not about not working, but it is about like how many doors are just slamming in your face. How hard am I pounding the pavement without seeing any results in what I'm trying to create and what I'm trying to manifest, and knowing that I'm on the right path, right? And so now I get this reminder. God pulls me out of my sound healing retirement of 1 week. And now I'm on this path of like, okay, the research stuff, the self-study, I redid the foundations of my business. I reevaluated what it is to me of like what it is to create a life that I love waking up to every day, or at least I'm exploring that now. And then this road trip idea came up. So now I'm going to like go back to my notes, because I know that I just went all over the page here. This is why I have notes. So this journey is really to become curious enough to test this idea, this idea about maybe we can use astrology, maybe we can use astrocartography, maybe we can use our Enneagram or human design or whatever other tool that inspires us to stay motivated and inspired in our lives. And so that's what I am looking at. I'm becoming curious enough to test this idea about allowing some of these other tools to inspire the change that we want to see in our own life. And so, yes, like this idea is inspired by my own story, and I'm also seeking the answers to this question. What does it mean to live a life that I love waking up to every day? But this is also, it's not just about me. You will hear my story throughout this journey. I will be documenting it throughout the way. You'll see me just talking to you. But I'm also going to be interviewing other people along the way and asking them this same question. What does it mean to you to live a life you love waking up to every day? And so I want you to notice how you feel in some of the things that I'm sharing and some of the things that I'm showing you. Take what serves, leave what doesn't. The astrocartography conversation may not be, something that you're interested in necessarily or believe in, but maybe there's some other nuance about the conversation that might ignite inspiration or motivation within your own life. So yes, you'll hear my story. You'll watch me navigate this uncertainty. You will see what happens when I build a business while living on the road. But my hope is that somewhere along the way that my journey becomes a mirror of yours. Because I know a lot of us deep down are asking this question. And the question isn't whether we know. The question is, what keeps us from beginning? What is stopping us from actually taking that next aligned step? So, what you'll experience along the way throughout this season, we will meet incredible people, entrepreneurs, artists, yoga teachers, healthcare professionals, community leaders, complete strangers. At every stop, I will ask this question: what does it mean to live a life that you love waking up to every day? And I will not stop at one answer. I expect hundreds of answers to this. Because maybe your answer is hidden inside someone else's story. You will come behind the scenes with me. You will see the partnerships. You will see the sound bath sessions, the missed turns. Oh my gosh, there's some things that I already need to share with you about that. There will be the unexpected invitations, the moments when everything works, and the moments when things don't. Because this isn't supposed to be this polished documentary. This is happening in real time. I mean, you are seeing me. If you're watching this, I'm talking to you and I'm going off on, riffing, but I'm also, here to try to keep it contained, right? And so on my notes here. So all of this, it's also to share with you that it doesn't have to be perfect to get started. And that the healing sometimes comes in the doing. The courage definitely comes from the doing. It's one of the things that I share with my students a lot. And, there's a real vulnerability here in sharing my business with you in this way. My building of my business, my sharing of my heart and my passion in this way. And I think that it's bigger than I think. It's a knowing that this is going to be impactful for so many people. Why I'm sharing all of it. People usually wait until they've figured out everything before telling the story. I'm doing the opposite. I'm inviting you into the uncertainty because I think the courage looks less like a perfect plan. I don't know if I'm going to have work in every place that I go. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I will have a place to stay everywhere I go. I don't know. I don't know. I know the path. But if the work doesn't come along that way, then I got to come back because this trip is being paid for by the sessions that I'm doing along the way. And that it's not just paying for the trip, it's also paying for my bills back home too, right? I've got this credit card debt from the car accident of not being able to work for a little over a year and a half. And so I'm really relying on the work along the way, sponsorships and partnerships that come in that will support the mission and want to be a part of the journey. I'm taking a really big chance here. And it's also this lesson in receiving for me as well, which we will definitely get into more of. But the courage to do something does not mean that it's all perfect. Like if you're having the courage to go and do the thing, not knowing what's going to happen on the other side of it. And I think, taking the next step before you actually know how the whole story ends is what makes it exciting and what gives us life, gives us that vitality. So my invitation to you, my friends, is to follow along. And as you follow along this journey, to not just watch my journey, but to ask yourself the question, what does it mean to you to create a life that you love waking up to every day? And maybe this season won't simply entertain you, razzle dazzle, but maybe it'll become the permission slip that you've been waiting for to begin your journey, to begin creating the life that you love waking up to every day. Thank you for being here. Welcome to season 2. Let's get started.